Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all of our participants and attendees joining on this TiE Talks President Series, jointly hosted by TiE Chennai and TiE Hyderabad for you. Quickly, you can see the screen. If you have any question that needs that is addressed to the speakers, please type it in the Q&A box for the moderators. Attention and he will take it up with the speakers. Ellarkum vanakkam.
Vanakkam indeed.
Akhila and myself, we are together.
Okay, Antariki Namaskaram.
So we jointly welcome to this first TiE Talks President Series.
Yes, on behalf of TiE Chennai and TiE Hyderabad, let me also add my welcome to Sridhar, CKR and Vivek and all the participants to the first session of TiE Talks President Series. I'm sure that the tale of these two icons will inspire many of us. I now invite Mr. Sridhar Reddy, founder and CEO of UG and the Vice President of TiE Hyderabad to introduce CK Ranganathan, President of TiE Chennai. Over to you, Manohar.
Thank you, Akila. Good evening, everybody. Ellarku vanakkam. Nalvaravu to all our Chennai friends and Romba Nandri for joining. Okay? Thank you very much. It's a privilege to introduce Mr. CK Ranganathan, who is popularly known as CKR. So, back in high school days, I used to see chick shampoo salesmen coming in bicycles with garlands of chick shampoo, on the bicycle bar and going around in the villages selling this shampoo, which used to be a rich man's product those days. Okay, so and he is the man who pioneered taking this shampoo to the rural India, and he is known as a somebody who has created this chick shampoo story. Is now a big case study in most of the management schools for almost more than a couple of decades. Wanted to tell you a couple of points, or rather mention a couple of points here. He named chick shampoo after his father, Chinni Krishnan. Okay? So what a beautiful way of, keeping the legacy. Okay? And then he has, from chick shampoo, with his brilliant marketing and distribution, he gotten into several personal care products, and he has built a fantastic, I would say, group delivering things for the rural India, and has become a name to reckon with. Okay, so I'm glad to have him here, and I do have to mention that CKR went on to become the CIA chairman for Tamil Nadu, and then he was also awarded the Entrepreneurship of the Year award by the Economic Times in 2004, and also CKR to philanthropy. He has started this Ability Foundation, and he supports a lot of these public trusts that supports several schools. So it's my pleasure to welcome him to this session, and welcome Mr. CKR, and thank you.
Thank you, Manohar, for that introduction of CKR, a legacy and an icon in building those brands. Next up, I'd like to request Mr. Arun Natarajan, who is the Vice President of TiE Chennai, and he is also the founder of Venture Intelligence. Mr. Arun, please take it away. Introduce Sridhar Reddy.
Sure, it's indeed my pleasure and honor. Good evening, everyone. So, Sridhar Reddy is a first generation entrepreneur and is a founder of CtrlS data centers and Cloud4C. Of course, he is the president of TiE Hyderabad currently. Today, his group has a presence in 25 countries and 50 locations worldwide, serving Fortune 500 MNCs. Mr. Sridhar has steered over 200 innovations and is credited with launching the first rated 4 data center in India. Right? And today, data centers, given the situation today, is keeping the country up and running, right? So I'm sure he has several war stories to relate from there even. More formally, he has received multiple awards for his good work in both business and social initiatives, including the E&Y Entrepreneur of the Year finalist one, Rajiv Gandhi Shiromani, and Karamveer Puraskar, and the list goes on and on naturally. So very interestingly, he is a very avid fitness enthusiast and engages in sporting activities, including cycling, swimming, skiing, trekking. I don't know how he gets around to doing all of this in the current situation, but I'm sure he's going to tell us how we can manage and get around. All in all, an amazing all-rounder that we all look forward to learning a lot from this evening. Thank you so much, and we look forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Mr. Arun. Akila, will you introduce Vivek Verma, the moderator of the day?
Thank you, Funny, and it is my pleasure to introduce Vivek Verma, a corporate honcho with decades of experience across industries and sectors. He is currently the founder of Upsurge Enterprise and continues to play a very active role in the entrepreneurial ecosystem of Hyderabad. He also spends a lot of time on several social causes. And thank you so much for moderating today's session, Vivek, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Akila. Thank you very much. And once again, Sridhar and CKR, welcome to the first TiE Talks President Series. And I'm looking forward to learning a lot of things from you, and I'm sure a lot of other people who are on the webinar. I see the number has almost touched 300 already, and I'm sure it's rapidly counting and growing. So thank you very much for joining us today. And I've kind of been through your profile, and I've been very fascinated and looked at your journeys, and I've tried to put some curated questions, which will probably help us to understand your journeys and to understand how you became icons. And then later on, we'll go out to the audience and look at some of the questions from them. So let me start by asking you, CKR. My first question is to you. As someone who broke away from a traditional family business way back in 1983, and I'm told with about 15,000 rupees, in your pocket, how has the whole journey, and we heard from Manohar about the stories, and all of us have similar stories of seeing some of those products when we were growing up. So how has the journey of building Cavinkare to be such a recognized organization been, going back to those days when you walked away from the family business?
Thanks, Vivek. It was I thoroughly enjoyed the journey. Of course, it was very difficult initial days. I can tell you that initially when I walked out of the family, it was not a pleasurable walkout. It was just definitely a kind of this thing, not a pleasurable one. I think very important thing is 3 things that mark my exit. One is I don't want to stay and keep fighting with my family, and that is one very important thing. Second thing is that I wanted to. I told my family that I don't want any share in the business nor in the family property. That was also a second one. Third one, I think it's important is I was ready to go down. I know that I walked out of my 15,000 savings, ready to go down from car to a bicycle. That is swallowing the ego and in front of the town where I grew, in front of friends, relatives, and well-wishers. I think that 3 things are very important. I walked out and no looking back. I was full of confidence at that time when I walked out. I, of course, faced a lot of hurdles, no doubt. It was quite a lot of time that whether I will succeed, survive that kind of days and night. I burnt a lot of midnight oil. But one thing, it was clear, I don't want to go back to my family as a failure, and please accept me. and that was not there. Therefore, I worked extra hard, and I think it was in this journey I learned one thing, that it's lonely at the top, no doubt on that. And I was not prepared. I was very average in academics and had a lot of setbacks. But I was determined in that time that despite of all the setbacks, I don't want to point them as setbacks, but I would like to make it up. So every time I found it very difficult, I started reading books, learning English first, and reading books, subsequently management books. And every time I read some of the management books, my confidence rose up. Yes, I can. Because as a businessman, you grew with a lot of doubts and a lot of things. That way, I think school days and college days, I never read myself. Very, very rarely, just for exams only. And after getting into business, the habit of reading and acquiring knowledge, I think that dramatically helped me grow up, is what I would say. And then once the concept is there, you are able to take with conviction and confidence some of the decisions in business. Otherwise, it was doubtful whether we should or we should not. Then all the time you look at what somebody else did, whether I will do the same thing. Here it is not the case. I think once you understand the concepts, it was very easy. I think is what I would say. And after that, of course, I think a lot of challenges way through. Every challenge, I think, was well played out. I think this is where we are here. Finally, we landed here. I can outline few challenges, but I think I would, after Vivek, as you get into, I will talk. What I think is we got into personal care. We went on to food products, then dairy products, then salons. Like that, I think we kind of this thing. We are very happy that today we have a good diversified portfolio and doing well, and that's very important. The latest
Thank you, CK. Go on.
Latest challenge everybody faces is the COVID. I think COVID is the kind of this challenge we all face. But I think having handled so many other challenges, I think this looks to be not such a big challenge, is what I would say. Thanks.
And we'll come to COVID in a bit, CKR. But wonderful to hear, how some of the lessons from that in terms of leaving your ego and learning and yes, I think some of us on the call recognize that when you get to the position you are at, it's lonely. How you manage to serve.
Yeah. One more thing, Vivek, in that if you look at you are lonely at the top. Not only that, you are the bottleneck for the growth of the company. That's what I learned. So the personal transformation is one mantra I took it. I was not at all prepared. My value system, what my father and mother taught me, the kind of attitude I brought to the table, all these things are basics, not sufficient enough to really succeed in business. I think the more you sharpen yourself, more you prepare the time management to various other aspects of the attitudes, the time, values, and the business principles, and that laid the foundation for a growth. And therefore, decision making at every stage was easy without any hesitation. And that's what I would like to say. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, CK, for giving us a bit of a sneak peek into how it all started and how you as a person have been building that over the last few decades. With that, I come to you, Sridhar. And, unlike CKR, you being a first generation entrepreneur, how did you go about kind of recognizing the opportunities and making the most out of it and building multiple businesses in your journey? And of course, most recently, CtrlS and Cloud4C. So if you could tell us how did you as a first generation entrepreneur kind of seize these opportunities, recognize these opportunities and grow them?
People see me as a person who could identify opportunities successfully. But the way I see myself as, if someone knows my whole story, probably we can learn the most mistakes I made in identifying good opportunities to grow. Almost by age of 12, I knew that doing business is the way of my future going to be. And by 19, I would have thought and worked upon at least 6-7 ideas by then. Everything was a big failure. They're basically misguided or lack of vision, whatever you call it as. And I did many things. I developed software, did networking and system integration. And one day I was sitting in a toilet reading a newspaper, found the internet services were privatized, and went and got the license, started the services. Major hit. Not only that, I mean, we developed the software to build the ISP, and which also became a big hit. And then within 2 years, everything collapsed. After 3 internet services companies have come. So, I mean, then followed was a long struggle, and I said we have to find opportunities which are going to be scalable, which have a competitive edge, highly diversified, not easy for someone with entry barriers. So these were the opportunities. My shortlisting of opportunities had multiple gates, and that's how I ended up in the most difficult, toughest business with toughest competition in data centers. Everyone said it was a suicide to go into it, but I could very clearly see that there is an unmet need in the industry, and there is going to be a lot of efficiencies for companies working with data centers, and I started that. Yeah. And similarly, I see globally, I see a gap in, especially for those organizations which want cloud services in tier 2 countries. There is not much services available, and the traditional IT services companies are not fully catered to meet that need. And we can do it with a lot more efficiency, as well as highly differentiated portfolio of services. That's how I started Cloud4C.
Fantastic, Sridhar. And so wonderful to learn that at 12 you started learning and you were ready, and then by 19 you had a few not just failures but a lot of learning, and I think that's kind of brought you where you are today, because you started very, very early. So well done, Sridhar, and thank you for giving us that insight. And with that, coming back to you, CKR. And you talked about the diversification that you did, and I'm told that you have currently about 15 leading brands that you have created and manage now. So if you can just tell us a little bit about this whole journey of building these brands practically from zero, and they are in diversified areas, with starting with Chick shampoo and then going on to the trends in Vogue salon and many more. Like you said, personal care and, very areas. So can you tell us a little about this whole brand building that you have become a champion in?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Vivek. It's a good question. A lot of people think promoting multiple brands is very difficult, but it's very easy for me, because I think it's all in the mind. And another principle we also operate when we build the brand is nobody has money problem, it is ideas problem. So that is also one more important thing. So every brand requires money, but if you can kill the money requirement by having great ideas. So that is a principle that we adopted, and it's successful. As we talk, during the pandemic time, we have launched 3 more brands. So that is last 3 months we have added 3 more brands. Now it has become 17 actually. So I think it is good to see that, and as you see that in the next 2 months time, another 2 more brands is joining. So that will take the tally to 19 is how I would say. So it's going on, because that's not a big deal, but easily now, initially it took for us some time to make a 100 crore brand. Now we believe couple of years we'll make it a 100 crore brand. That's the way it's growing in a kind of way.
So what drives you in building these brands?
Because building brands means it is better to have a standard separate personalities than leveraging one brand. We have seen companies which have I realized it in very early part of my life, that companies who have leveraged one brand in FMCG sector have a limitation to grow. There are exceptions, of course. Some categories you can. Like Britannia, if you look at, they have all the biscuits in that range. You don't require that kind of thing, but still they have Little Hearts and so on, sub-brands are there. Whereas you look at the Colgate, they could not expand beyond toothpaste. It's a kind of a thing. Other brands only, they could do that. Nirma tried it, one of the Indian brands, if you look at. Everything came with Nirma. Nothing worked. Beyond the detergent, cannot be stretched too much on a personal care kind of thing. The world believes in specialists. The world generally, they like generalists, no doubt on that. Specialists are far more, when they want efficacy, when they want outstanding delivery, they believe in the specialist. And that, I think we caught on to that. We started carving the personality of each brand very carefully. And that really helped us. This brand, for example, we have a hair wash powder, and we are in the segment, we are the 100% market share. We have a hair wash, we have a container at say 150 rupees, 120 rupees kind of range. And we also have a sachet for a one-time use sachet at 4 rupees under the brand name Mira. And we have a counter competition to that called Kartika at the brand price of 1 rupee. 4 rupees is there, 1 rupee is there. So if you look at both, the kind of this thing is sealed. Same way in shampoos, we have a 3 rupee shampoo, we have 1 rupee shampoo, we have a 50 paise shampoo. You require multiple brands to kind of the thing. And that's the case even with Levers and P&G also. Worldwide, if you look at, they have, if you count the worldwide, all the brands put together in a shampoo, Levers will be having about a dozen brands. And so as P&G. So you can't manage with one brand, because each segment, somebody kind of things offers, when you carve a personality, it's not easy to cater to another segment. Very few brands can straddle across. So initially, I will say one initial story of how we built Chick Shampoo, the first brand. And after that, I think it will take too much time. I will leave it to the Sridhar Reddy next question. So Chick, when we started off, it was a commodity. Velvet, I came from my family business. Velvet shampoo was the first one which came in the sachets. And I have to compete. It was a brand by itself. I have to compete that. So when I started this thing, looking at the market, retailers were asking, your brand is not advertised. And people are asking, Velvet, how can I kind of this thing do that? So when we looked at that, there are other brands, plethora of brands started coming in, but they offered a very huge margin to the retailers. Because when the brands are not there, you have to give huge margins to the retailers. You would say, if you want me to push your product, pamper me with more margins. That's the only way out. So when everybody fell prey to that, and they offered huge discounts, the huge discounts came at the cost of diluting the quality. That means liberally adding water, so that the performance of the product will be suboptimal. So therefore, none of the other brands, they had a short life. Whereas I took a call that I am not going to compromise on the quality of the product. So therefore, persevered different methods to build a brand and also increase the distribution. Two things we learned is, to succeed in FMCG, you require a very, very strong distribution. And then you also have to create a brand. So distribution, while we were putting our efforts in knocking the door, that came in by appointing, when we go on appointing a distributor, a very well established distributor like ITC or Britannia, that kind of distributors we approached, they said, your brand is not known. Can you give me 45 days credit? 45 days credit, if I give to one distributor, I can't even service another one. My working capital is so limited. I didn't have any money. So the option before us is, we have to sell on cash. So therefore, our sales guys very cleverly went on to appoint bicycle hirers, who has no experience in FMCG, but for them it's a green field. They wanted to get in here. We took about 2,000, 3,000 rupee demand draft, send them stocks, help them to liquidate the stocks, and all these things. They are happy when they got into a new field. Then the business started growing. This is the way we built our business brick by brick. Coming to brand, it was a commodity. So what we did is, we gave a scheme, and that was a breakthrough for us. Bring in any 5 empty sachets of any brand and get 1 Chick shampoo free. This is what we printed on back of the sachet. When the customer buy a we also told the retailers, if they collect from 3 customers, they will be given one sachet free. Retailer thought this is fabulous money, time to make money. They encouraged school-going kids to go and collect all the used sachets of any brand around the pond or streets or wherever it is. And then in exchange of one chocolate, they will bring in about, say, 50 or 100 sachets. And they gave it, and we started exchanging them. I think that really worked. Because of that, we gave a lot of free sachet to get into an outlet at a higher price than giving discounts. So you look at that, a lot of people gave discounts and diluted the quality, but we gave free sachet. But the retailers were guilty. Instead of getting everything free, they also started buying about 4 dozens, 5 dozens of packs by giving cash. So from before we starting the scheme, we were available only 1 out of 10 outlets. 10 months we ran the scheme. We were all available at 9 out of 10 outlets. Our turnover, which was about dwindling from 50,000, it was going down to 35,000. When that 35,000, we introduced the scheme. In 10 months' time, this crossed 10 lakhs per month.
Wow.
So no look. So from there, we started immediately when the money started coming in, we advertised in radio. Then we moved on to TV using film stars. Business 10 lakhs became 25 lakhs, 1 crore, 2 crore, no looking back. And the distribution to be mastered, getting into small towns everywhere and so on. This is the way I will put it. Thanks.
Thank you, CK. That's giving a wonderful insight for any one of us who's on the call listening about how one should go about building the brands. You know, you've done a wonderful job of looking at each aspect. And what I liked the most in your this thing was about carving the brand for each, carving a personality for each brand to be unique. And, and I think it's a great lesson. And for all of you listening onto the call, I think that's something hopefully we can learn a little from CKR and, do in our own businesses. So coming from brand building to you, Sridhar, as a local boy at a very young age, and we just heard 12 and 19, which are numbers which most of us don't kind of attribute or connect to entrepreneurship. How did you go about building such a phenomenal global business with 25 countries and, Fortune 500 multinational? So how was that journey from being a local boy to today being a global personality in that sense?
Yeah, as CK said, right, you cannot compromise quality. Not just that. We said giving the same quality is not going to be enough. If we have to succeed, for example, when I started data centers, Tata, Reliance, Airtel, NTT, and CP. These were the incumbent players, top 3 corporates of India, and they have a phenomenal brands. They're all, especially Tatas, right? They're all known for a very, very premium kind of people are proud of buying their products and services. And on the other side, the services that we are selling are so important for a bank or for any institution or a company of giving their data assets to us to manage. Very critical business. Banks can take, a vice president in a bank can take a $100 million loan decision, but a data center decision of $1 million also goes to the board and goes through a multiple due diligence processes. Now that was the industry that I entered in. So it was a kind of a David versus Goliath kind of a story. And so how do we meet that challenge? So we said we have to be significantly higher quality than the incumbent providers. And then not just that, it's not going to help. Yet at the same time, we should be able to provide a reasonable cost. We cannot, because we are giving a higher quality, we cannot charge something more because of their brand value of Tata's or these companies are very, very high. Right? So there went on the homework, and we traveled all over the world. Met the greatest data center creators across the world, and came back, learned from there what great things that they have done, what mistakes that they have done. Came back and set up a drawing board, and we said our data centers will consume 20% less electricity. Number one goal. Goal number two, we said India has never seen a tier 4 data center. All our tier 3 data centers will build tier 4 data center. And then we said we will not charge customers more. In fact, they will save money on power. Large customers, power is going to be a huge cost. Okay? And that was the objective with which we went in, which required us to do a lot of engineering, a lot of learning, a lot of challenges on the way. But that's what we made it, and which became, initially, it was too good to be true. So I had a setback. I said, why would somebody offer a tier 4 data center? First of all, tier 4 data center is not possible. And then they said that, look, there is something, if this company will collapse, it won't. It's a too good to be true story for us. I mean, I had to fight that battle as well. So we have to be careful when we are doing a brand building. I think that was a big lesson for me. But then eventually, the truth prevails, and then, people realized many certifications came, many large corporations, including the biggest Bank of India, SBI, or the world's largest bank, Bank of America. When those kind of companies started giving their data for us to manage, that's when, because they do a thorough due diligence, that's when the story is out, and everyone started believing in, and our growth rates have been double than that of competition. We became the biggest data center company. And the story was, so initially it was a hard struggle, but very clearly. So my view is that a brand in a B2B space can only be built if you have a really high quality of service, differentiated and higher quality, and at a reasonable costs as compared to the biggest brands of the IT.
Thank you, Sridhar. I think from your response, it's also very clear that I think two other things that seem to have played a very strong role is a very strong vision. Like you said, you came back and created a vision that data center you will create will be cheaper, power will be lesser. And, so all of that very strong vision that you created, and then you obviously rallied around that. And of course, the perseverance. So thank you, I think. And it shows in the business you've been able to build from there on. So thank you, Sridhar. And with that, I think there are some questions coming. I just want people to know that I will pick those questions, but we will do that kind of in the later part of the session. So I am seeing the questions, and I also want to acknowledge that I see some of the presidents from the other TiE chapters who are here, and I also see Mr. Dinesh, who's the vice chair of TiE Global, who's also joined. So welcome to all of you once again, for those of you who joined after we started. With that, coming to you, CKR, while we hear the story from both of you, about building companies and about your vision and about your perseverance, but I'm sure the journey was, involving people, and I guess people would have played a critical role, in terms of helping grow these businesses. So if we were to look at Cavinkare per se, what role would you say people have played, and how have you been kind of pursuing that in terms of hiring, in terms of attracting, retaining, incentivizing? So what's been some thoughts you have around people when you're building such global large businesses?
I think nothing is possible without people, I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very fundamental of people are the thing. If I stand before you all and take credit, but I think it's all made by our own people in terms of where we are today. And if I'm to say, I look at the people in terms of they are the foundation and the main stakeholders. But if I'm to say that I split it into three parts.
Mm-hmm.
So one is the knowledge, this thing that the knowledge they bring it to the table, which is very important. Then the thinking and insights and ideas they bring it to the table. The third one is the execution. And all the three combine together well. Because if the knowledge is very sound, then your thinking automatically is influenced by good amount of this thing there in the heart. So then when the thinking quality is high, you get very great ideas. Your strategy is becoming very strong, the way Sridhar said. And how you can beat the competition, mighty competition. So then you have an ace team to execute that. Then the whole thing is complete. So you require people with combination of all the three. Sometimes I have seen in my own thing that people who are very, very strong in knowledge, I call them mobile libraries, but they are not able to come with great ideas. This is very exception, I'm telling you. But they are also required in a kind of, when we call it a thinking lab, where you create ideas and where it is required to beat competition or improvement or any kind of this thing. And that is where this knowledge leadership helps. And there also somebody who has a reasonable amount of knowledge, they are great in terms of coming out with insights and ideas. Seemingly unconnected things they will connect and able to come out with ideas. That is a very different skill. And I call them genetical edge. So this is an inborn quality. This can't be taught. How my mind cooks cannot be the same way it is. So that I think you need to have the ability to identify such kind of people who are great in ideas, who are able to do. And that's one, I think you have to put all these kind of people also. Third one is by people who has execution skills, very great of execution skills. If you get people, all the three well balanced, superb, outstanding. It is an outstanding superhuman. But I think you don't get like that. You get reasonably good few like that, and quite a lot of them great in execution. You tell them this thing, you put a path, they will go and execute it very clearly as based on that. There are some people who are very good in coming out with ideas, some who are good in knowledge based kind. So I think this is the way I look at that in terms of that, and use them appropriately. Another way we look at that is we look at people as three kind of people. One is, and also accordingly, I think this is very clearly established in our company. Creators, enhancers, and protectors. Creators are one who can create revenue. Okay, that's very important. I can create revenue. The other set of people are one, I can't create revenue, but I can add value to the creation. Therefore, I enhance the value of the creation. This is a second set. And the third set is protectors. I can't neither add top line or bottom line. Therefore, I can only, my indirect aid, I can't directly associate my value into that kind of thing. I may be adding value, definitely not, I'm not a junk kind of thing, but I add indirect value. These jobs are easily replaceable, kind of this thing. So the enhancers value is people who, quite a lot of them purchase, you want accounts, they all add value by reducing costs, all kind of thing. So this way, when you have a clarity, you pitch the kind of this thing appropriately, that also gives a very, very good thing in terms of classifying and also motivating people to take the questions and add value to the creations.
That's a wonderful insight, CKR, in terms of the creators, enhancers, and the protectors, and also finding either the combination in the one person, which is rare, but if you can find, fantastic. If you can't find it in one person, then find people from the three categories of knowledge, of ideas and thinking, and of execution. So no wonder, you've been able to build what you've built because of finding the right combination. So thank you once again, CK, for letting us know. And I also see now that some of the board of trustees from TiE Global, Tariq and Kali, have also joined us. So welcome to both of you. And from people, Sridhar, I'd like to come to you and kind of talk to you a little about this whole concept of innovation. And as you were being introduced, 200 innovations that you have been driving and engaged in. So tell us what does innovation mean to you and to your enterprise, and and as someone who created the first fourth rated data center in India. So what does innovation mean to you and to your enterprise? Yeah,
before I address the question, I thought I came here to talk. But I didn't expect to learn. CK, wonderful. Yeah, this was a good, very good insight. Yeah, and coming from a different perspective, different industry. Great. Yeah. So as I said, Vivek, I set a very, very difficult target for the company, right? For the vision, as a vision of the company. It was many actually very senior folks who did not believe it and did not join me as well. I had to work with extremely young engineers, very young engineers, right? So like guys who are in the 25s, I mean, who are now heading the company. And I'm very fortunate that happened because they had the courage to say, okay, and the passion to accept the challenges. And those are the guys who made miracles happen now. Now, how do we go about achieving in an industry which is already, doing it quite efficiently, and they have invested, hundreds of millions of dollars to build those data centers, and a lot of engineering talent went into it, right? That's the industry, and most of it is traditional. And so when we set out designing, for example, our data centers, we said that, well, let us question everything conventional. We will not take anything without questioning it. So, for example, but these are all the, ITIL guidelines or electrical engineering or ASHRAE or ISHRAE, they're all made for a certain times. When electricity was cheap, when, the assumptions were very different. And those were the principles which are being applied to data centers, which we said that fundamentally there's something disconnect there. While they're all great people, I'm not, yeah. So that's where it started off. We redefined everything: electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, fundamentals of, for example, building design principles were used for data centers. We said we'll discard it all because building air conditioning loads are very different from data center air conditioning loads. Right? So we redefined the whole thing, and then we went about building. Then the manufacturers were not ready. And we went to Crompton and said, this transformer is great, but we want a lot more energy efficiency. They said, how do we do it? And then we worked with them. We redesigned their transformer, for example, right? And then got the things down. Some vendors did not cooperate. Then we said, okay, we understand what is happening. We will modify them. They said, we will not give you warranty. We said, we don't care. Because we have redundancies. If anything going wrong, we'll handle it ourselves. That's how we won the National Innovation Award for Energy Efficiency, for example, right? We changed the whole systems. And, same is the case with the planning everywhere. And how do we ensure that you cannot, when we handle data of these, large MNC corporations, everything is critical, right? We cannot take anything for chance. So we had to build robust, very high quality, highest redundancy, yet at the same time, we have to be efficient. Our capital costs are probably lowest in the industry worldwide. Yet we built, tier 4 data centers. Now, how do you go about doing it? Which requires, again, fundamental engineering, which led to a number of innovations. Same is the case when we said, we set out with the services. And the industry maximum, when we started, could offer 99.98 was the maximum SLA anybody could give. We gave 5.9 SLAs. And we actually delivered 100% for the last 13 years, 13 years, 100% of time of our data centers, right? So, and which required further innovation. And in the same way, the cloud services, everyone said, look, you cannot differentiate, in a cloud service, which is commodity. Then we went about, again, further innovation, right? How do we differentiate? And today we have a differentiate model, pulled out without any salespeople. We could build over $100 million enterprise from zero in 5 years. And that too in a record time in about 25 countries because of those innovations and differentiators. Yeah, but if there is one thing that you could say which built these brands. It is innovation. I think it's the same story with CK as well. I still remember Chick was a big innovation in the oldest industry, one of the oldest industries. Yeah.
Yes. Wonderful, Sridhar. Wonderful to hear that, and and especially about the way you went about describing that you didn't restrict the innovation to happen only within your enterprise. You also looked at your vendors, you also looked at your customers, you looked at the whole ecosystem, and went about seeing where and how can that also get innovated so that ultimate service offering that you are making can go up, and 100% uptime I think is a dream that you've made come true. So congratulations on driving that, and I'm sure innovation has been a key factor even in the growth of the brands that you're in CKR. So maybe if you can kind of talk to us a little about building this culture of innovation within Cavinkare, and how did you go about that to kind of do this, because you've diversified into multiple segments. So how did you kind of use this concept of innovation as a culture to take it to different segments, different customers, and different products?
I learned it the hard way, Vivek. So I started off as a copycat, then after reading the books and so on, kind of thing, and I understood that it's not going to work. If you want to be a kind of this thing, you need to be very different. So I think when I came from the family business, I exactly copied the same variants and kind of this thing, and went to the retailer and just created a different variant name. They had a anti-dandruff shampoo called Doctor. I called it Tonic. So like that. So I called with the new nomenclature, I think variant name, that itself is an innovation. The retailer said you are a copycat. So then I think it's a big learning, because that time I was just young, very young, 21 years, just learning the rope. So that I think is a very important thing. Then after that, the one foundation was that we said, we will make a very strong differentiation in product. The realization was, if I am to beat a market leader, I can't beat the same thing, the value proportion what he offers. And that is what I exactly resonate what Sridhar was telling. Everything, the way you do it, the product has to be better and so on. So we have a very simple formula. It is this the way our R&D also is where we have very clearly get signages like that. Our philosophy is very simple. You need to have a very differentiated products or significantly winning product over competition. So this is a very fundamental mantra. If somebody starts, I'm going to offer an equal product, it will be beaten 5-6 level down below me. They say this is not the way our company works. That very thought will be thrashed by a junior level person. That is very important. That I would call it a company culture. So, and the other thing, if you want to beat a lever or a PNG, you can't do the same thing. You need to have a very different guerrilla warfare. So therefore, innovation is very, very important. So exactly matching that product is not going to work. In our own experience, if you match a product, customer would say, oh, so what? It is equal product, no? So what's the discount you will offer? Then it's a price game. You can't keep on, there is no end in the price game. So it's better you talk a different future in that, then it is easy to win the game. The price is eliminated. The customer is buying the future, new benefit, which is what I think that we learned. And that makes it our life much, much more easier. So we go about, because whenever we develop product, we go and test the concept with the customers. Is the concept itself is appealing? So that if the concept is appealing to them over the current products in the marketplace, then we know that, then we develop a prototype, go and share it with them, in-use concept, in-use test, we call it. And the customer tries and it's great, kind of this thing, then we know that we have a great product with us. Then we develop and go and test launch it. This is the way it is, we do that. So it's a culture for the culture of developing from R&D to packaging to marketing. Everybody thinks that we will not launch an equal product. It's fundamental. Equal is eliminated in our dictionary.
Fantastic. How you've turned, the survival as an opportunity, and kind of fighting these multinational brands, I'm sure would not have been easy. And I'm sure this culture that you've created within the organization would have been a phenomenal help to do that. I'm going to be a little greedy with both of you now, because I think, we want to learn as much more as we can with you. So my request is going to be for us to take more questions. I will go a little more rapidly, because I know there are people who are also waiting with some more questions, and I'll request if you can also kind of tell us briefly about these, and then we can keep taking more and more questions. So coming to you, Sridhar, and you mentioned briefly earlier, that you had your kind of encounter with failure early, and thereafter in your journey, as I know, you've been a zero to success story. You've done that, the valley and the trough a few times. So can you tell us what kind of makes you still stay at it? Because usually people go through that journey once, and then second time maybe, but after that they give up. You've been someone who's been through that journey a couple of times. So what keeps you going?
Every time it went down, it's not because of me, or because of we did something wrong inside in the company. Then it means that we are either not suitable or we are not able to learn. But twice we went down. Both times were unanticipated global situations or competition, or you could say so. Yeah. So first lesson we learned was that you can't be. If you're in a commodity business, you'll get consumed once the much bigger, better player comes in. That's what happened, right? When the free internet services companies came, everyone has to wind down or burn money. I mean, we survived. We still have a good internet services company which is profitable, which does over. But it took us several years to kind of take the losses to come up again. So that's the lesson that we have learned. And so what it means is that I had to build a model. Second time, I had to build a model which kind of withstands, that those kind of even if someone, I said, I will start a business. Even if someone comes up and gives the same service free of cost, I should have my customers. They should be with me because of what I offer, and they should not be. And we said we have to build a business that the brand, brand and business for me are equal, right? Brand represents, the values or the way the business is done. We have to build something that cannot be, pulled down by competition or your suppliers or your, anyone for that matter. That's when the brand stands, right? That's the value of the brand. Some people call it as brand value. So that's the kind of a model that we wanted to go about, and I started CtrlS, and then I signed on a private equity very early in the first 6 months itself. I signed up with a private equity, but then when the financial meltdown happened, and I've had huge capex plans, and then there was no money, right? It was on paper, yeah. So hence a major setback, and that's when I had to literally put everything, all kinds of my assets, everything on the block, sell some, put as mortgage, and come out of that. Now, what makes me feel I could be is that when I know that what I'm building, the product and services, is going to be significantly superior, and yet at the same time reasonably cost effective as well as profitable for the company. When these three things happen, right? When you see these three things materializing, there's no way you could lose. It's a temporary setback, right? So that's the confidence. When everyone said, okay, Sridhar, you have to wind up everything now, I said, nothing doing. Let me go to the market, sell some assets, and then come back and put it, back it with. So whenever we went down, I said double down, right? Because when you see that very clearly what you're offering, you get the confidence automatically.
Fantastic. And in this journey, Sridhar, as you are someone who's also a very strong fitness freak, and from what I know, you also have interest in the spiritual space. So how do you find the energy, not just to do this bounce back in the business, take it global with the travel you do? You still find time to swim, to cycle, to go on these spiritual sojourns. Where does this energy come from? Where's the reservoir?
No, actually, those things give me energy. The contrary is true. So when I broke everything, right? Whatever I have earned, when first almost I never declared bankruptcy. I paid off everyone, but when that first debacle happened, I was shattered and could not sleep for weeks. I had developed a back problem, knees problem, put on weight, unable to even read. I used to read a 100-page agreement in like 20 minutes, and unable to read one page in the same 20 minutes, right? It went into such a stage, and that's when I went on a spiritual journey, and from there to a physical journey. Overall, I developed a philosophy that mind, body, and spirit. I think the more important than the ideas, innovation, and all that, entrepreneur needs to have a very strong mind, body, and spirit. I believe, and that's where I pursue. I invest every day. Like today was very, very busy day for me. I could barely reach in time, eat something and reach in time for this conference. But I managed to do a 15-minute swim session in the morning, and I didn't go to the gym, but I have a resistance band. It's a simple instrument anyone could buy and do it at home. And then I did another 10-15 minutes in the evening. So because that gives me energy, that gives me even after putting in 12-14 hours of work, I'm probably like more fresh than I woke up in the morning. I believe everyone should participate. Get yourself ready with all three. And spiritual activities, not spiritual actually. What I do is spend time with those people like Sridhar and Vedant Academy, and learn about. We were never taught as kids. We were never taught about how do we train our mind, and what happens with our mind. Why do we get angry? Why do we get upset? Why do we anxious, right? And how do we deal with those? Or how do we deal with relationships, ego? We need to be. I believe very strongly that we all need to have one section of our life. Spend some time to reinvent ourselves with that. Yeah.
And I'm sure that journey is also very enriching when you spend time to use these opportunities to learn and kind of rejuvenate and reinvent and rediscover yourself. So thank you for again that insight into you. And CK, coming to you, again, you are someone who, in addition to building these phenomenal brands for the last few decades, have also done so much work in the space of kind of contributing and giving back to the society. You've been involved in so many more initiatives like the Ability Foundation, the various schools that you run, and the one I found very fascinating particularly was the CK School of Practical Knowledge. So you have gone about, in fact, including naming the institute about practical knowledge. So how do you, what drives you to do all of these again? Like I asked Sridhar, what's the secret?
This thing is, if you look at Vivek, after some time, you only work for, because after some time money doesn't give you a kick. It's only a survival. Beyond that, I think it's only what you get out of the kind of thing, how you are meaningfully contribute back to the society is very important. So as we talk, 46% of my time is given back to the society. I think it's very important in terms of giving time is the most precious time when you are very busy, not when I'm retired. It's very busy. If you can give, that is more value. So in addition to TiE, I am the Deputy Chairman of CIE Southern Region. I also hold the Vice President of IMA. That means next year I am the Chairman of Southern Region and Chairman of IMA, this thing, and also doing TiE. So all the three will be in this thing. I am very confident I can handle, because these are very important to me. The balance I will manage the business. So that I think is a very important thing of giving back to the society is very strong in me. I think it's very, very important. And another thing is, if you look at, Sridhar was talking about energy coming and kind of thing by when he does the exercise. That was very fascinating to know. I get my energy when I think. But I can't afford to be. I am an introvert, but I get a lot of energy when I think. So if I don't think, I'm continuously busy, I get zapped. So I think each one is a different personality that way. I think.
Correct. And if each one has their reservoirs at different places. Go on, CK.
I have a sub question, CK. What do you think? I mean, how does that work? Can you give us a little bit more clarity into that?
Which one?
The thinking giving energy.
Yeah, I think thinking is a phenomenal thing. When you focusedly think, Sridhar, because as you start in business, you get a lot of cluttered of ideas and this thing. It is unfinished thinking, quite a lot of them are there.
Yes. I got it.
You start finishing them one by one. You kind of this thing. You note down and start finishing them. You get a lot of relief. The moment you get relief, the clutter goes out of your mind. You get a lot of energy release. Is how I.
Yeah.
And you also get ideas. No, ideas motivates you well. So that's the way. That's what I would say.
Got it.
Thank you, CK. And I think with that, I'll come to one question which is probably on everyone's mind, and this will be my last question with you. Is this COVID situation has been, particularly tough for pretty much everyone around the globe. And when we look at businesses, so to CK, to you first, a lot of the consumer businesses, the FMC businesses, with the lockdown has really been impacted. So how has it been impacted for you, and what are some survival tips you have for people who are in businesses similar to yours?
I think it's very important. We knew COVID is coming early in January, late in January, we realized and we started preparing ourselves. And but March 4th is the 5th is the time we decided that we launch sanitizer. So we said it's important that if this is going to be tough, let's be ready and these kind of things, products to offer. By 20th, we launched the product. Just 15, 16 days, we are out in the market. But not only that, then we also reviewed what are the things, wherever pandemic happened, whether it is Ebola or the SARS, and what happened to those FMCG products, which products sold well during that time and post that also. And that way we are very clear to identify the hygiene and cleanliness products and the immunity boosters. So both we said, okay, then we have to quickly add these things in our range. That's how we said that kind of thing. Another mindset, Vivek, it's all about the mindset. And we knew that it is coming. It's going to be very, very difficult days. But the night is going to be long. We don't know when the day will come. But we said we will make a day in the night itself. And that's very important. That means every struggle, every challenge, we are going to hit it to a 6. Everything we know that it's a googly, we'll hit it for a 6. Otherwise, we'll get bored. We don't want to get bored. So that way, I think we have created in the last 120 days since we work from home, and we created close to about 5-6 brands. We have now it's getting rolled over one or the other. That's what I would say. And in April, we grew. We did about 60% of our last year's sales, despite 14 days lockdown. And May we did about 80%. In June, we have grown by 1%. Now, July onwards, I think we'll be kind of the thing. We are looking at that for last year. That means no looking back for now, because substantially, if you look at about 20% of that coming from the new product what we have launched. That is, otherwise you would have got finished.
Yeah, so that's been your secret, how you've used this opportunity to kind of bring new products. Thank you, CK, and I think that's a fair bit of learning. And coming to you, Sridhar, and you're dealing with people around the world, and a lot of your customers are also going through tough times, and of course, in effect, you're also going through tough times. So for you, how has it been in the IT space and in the data center space from a COVID perspective, and any learnings or suggestions you have for people?
Yeah, no, it's the same, right? We got the early warning signals this December, January. And middle of January, I was actually in China. And when I saw something was strange at the airport, people were almost scared. I didn't know. I mean, I was transiting through China. And something was strange. People are scared. There were thermal cameras everywhere. There were like all kind of a mini army stationed in the airport. I sensed something was really going wrong. Right? I couldn't see. I didn't hear much about. I was traveling so much. I was at a conference in Hawaii before that for 4 days, and so I didn't know much about what's happening. But that triggered me and said something is. Then I started doing the research on COVID. I could very clearly see that something is seriously going to come up because we cannot avoid it. We are a connected world. And that's when we started preparing, and it took us a month of preparation to meet the challenge, because and from end of January we started investing to handle COVID. Right, we bought close to about 1,500 laptops for all the people. Only 500-600 of our employees had laptops before that. Rest of them, we bought laptops. We made sure that they could work from home. That means, whatever DLP softwares, whatever, and training. We have, and how do we run the data centers, right? We still need some people in the data centers. And we said, we told all the critical employees that we'll pay you 3 times. Of course, it's also voluntary. I mean, people who could not, they could go be home, but you got to live in the data centers. And we created facilities for them. And it worked. It worked. During the COVID times, actually, our CSAT ratings, we take customer feedback every day. Mm-hmm. And they went up.
Wow.
Instead of, and we never let down any customers. And we have almost 4,000 plus customers now. We have over 3,000. And the CSAT ratings from 4.5 to they've inched to 4.7 out of 5. So, I mean, that's but globally, we were in the middle of a major hiring campaign. So we were hiring about 9 countries. We were hiring management teams. The country manager, the head of marketing, head of sales, to the whole management team, about 9 countries. And COVID happened exactly after we hired 1 or 2 people per country. This happened, and then we don't know exactly when it's going to. So we had to be a lot more creative with people. We got to change the carriers. I mean, a lot of survival instinct has to be used. So And but we made sure that everyone is successful, all employees. That was critical for us, because without even giving the support system, which meant that we need to tweak a lot of, we need to be a lot more creative with people to make sure they are successful during this time as well.
Fantastic and wonderful listening to both of you, because a lot of people would be worried about the fact that businesses have got impacted, and we heard, no wonder we call you the icons, because both of you are talking about retaining business and growing business and maintaining CSAT and maintaining the customer feedback. So fantastic. With that, I'll move to a few rapid fire questions, and I just want you to not think too much, just quickly respond to the questions I have, and then we'll get to the audience questions. So CKR, what are the compliments people give you? Quick, CKR, you have to, and Sridhar, you have to answer very, very quick. This has to be like real rapid fire answers.
Okay, no, it's
CKR. CKR. Yeah. This question is to CKR. What are the compliments that people give you?
Genuine and down to earth.
Genuine and down to earth. So Sridhar, if you are stranded on an island, what is the thing that you would want with you?
How do I, water obviously, but how do I make money? How do I create wealth? Yeah.
CK, when was the last time you laughed? When was the last time you laughed your heart out?
I think even yesterday I laughed out. After seeing a joke in the TV, I see a lot of comedy clippings.
Thank you. Yeah. Sridhar, leader or follower?
I would say both.
Don't be politically correct.
Oh, no. I mean, I would say leader there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I also believe that a leader has to be a follower as well.
I get that. CK, what's the first thing you think of in the morning when you get up?
I think of long term generally. If you look at what do I learn today is my first thing.
Okay. Sridhar, what's the one thing that if you had a chance to change about yourself, you'll change?
People skills.
Okay. CK, what is it that you will never do?
I will never cheat people.
You'll never cheat people. Okay. Sridhar, what do you fear the most?
Fear the most. I have to think hard because there's hardly anything that I fear about. Maybe relationships.
Okay. CK, what have you done that you're most proud of?
I think the journey I walked through, I'm most proud of.
And Sridhar, what's it that you've been most proud of?
That I'm able to add value to everyone around.
Okay, good. So those were my rapid fires for you. Now we'll get to some of the questions people have asked while they registered. So CKR, for you, there's a question from Sandeep Page from Noida. And his question is, should an entrepreneur get into domains where there are no or very few players? And is it possible to make a place in a crowded place? So both sides.
I think where there is less entrepreneurs, if the market size is big, opportunities are great, no doubt on that. I choose where the 1 or 2 players are there, mighty players. It is easy to go and attack them, and because they may be very solid, but if you find their weakness and attack them, you get a larger pie. So that's my this thing. Too many players, it's slightly difficult to operate. I normally shy away.
Okay. Sridhar, there's a question for you from Kapil from Chennai, Kapil S. Is COVID an opportunity for startups? How do we overcome this as an entrepreneur? I know you talked about it briefly, but do you see for startups this as a big opportunity?
No, it cuts both ways, right? COVID affected some industries positively, some extremely negatively. The reaction is the whole spectrum. Some businesses got wiped out, some businesses got better, right? I mean, it depends on their particular situation in terms of what industry are you in, and accordingly the opportunities do exist. Some industries, so it has to be a industry specific. Yeah.
CK, there's a question.
Yeah. There are opportunities.
Yeah. So CK, there's a question for you from Mumbai, from Sonia Kirplani. What are the biggest challenges you had in building India's own brands, against these global? And you did touch about it earlier, but if you can just kind of respond to how was it?
Yeah, biggest challenge is because the global brands come with plethora of knowledge in terms of research knowledge, and also the kind of distribution might and huge advertising budget. All the three are the biggest strength. I think you need to beat them with the kind of thing. Challenge is to beat that with a greater innovation. Therefore, you spend less money and easy acceptance through distribution. I think that's the only thing. Every time we have to do that to beat the competition, we will come out with a weighty innovation so that we have a story to tell. There is a reason for someone to buy over others. So that's the way we build the brands.
Okay, fantastic. Sridhar, there's a question for you from Muscat, from Aditya Sharma. That have you ever gone through a phase in where your business idea was stolen or copied, and then how did you go about dealing with that?
Many times, right? That's a common thing. But people think they can steal your ideas or copy you. It's not going to be so easy. Maybe 1 in 100 attempts will be successful. So what I don't have any secrets. I actually be pretty open company. We speak everything openly across, and all the innovations that we did, we went out and shared with the industry. It's not easy to compete. If you look at, how much does it take to copy a Coca-Cola, right? It's not a great secret, right? You can easily make it. I mean, CK, you come from the industry, but it's not easy to replicate the overall story, right? And in a story of a company, even one single missing bolt will derail the whole thing, right? So that's the difference. So I'm not worried about someone stealing my ideas at all.
Okay. Fantastic. CK, there's a question for you from Hyderabad, from Yash Kumar. He's saying, how does the pandemic affect the career of people and what should they do to overcome that?
I think some have great opportunities, some it got.
CK, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can.
Some career, some jobs, it has definitely greater impact in terms of getting almost marginalized at this juncture. But I think some of the best way out is technology is one great leveler. If you adapt to the latest technologies, I think you will definitely succeed much better. My viewpoint is invest in yourself. If you want to kind of grow, you want to stay afloat, please invest in yourself. That is a very, very important, which is relevant investment, which will take you to the next level, is what is very important. I think then going and I'm going to acquire a new degree, I don't think that will help you. That might to some extent, but very important. Can I learn the new technology like the AI and the kind of this thing, the IoTs of the world, and that would help you quite a lot in terms of surviving, is what I would say.
Okay, thank you. With that, we move to you, Sridhar. The question is from Panchakula, from Vinay Mehta, and he's asking, what are the reasons some entrepreneurs are agile to change and some take time to change, and how do you develop agility?
One thing, an entrepreneur, the way I say it is that one thing should be constant in his life, that is change. Mm-hmm. Every 6 months, people who know me closely, say that every 6 months you are a new person. For me, every day there is a change. In this session there is a change, right? What CK said. I have a couple of points. I would probably make them my part of my day-to-day life. Yeah. So that's something an entrepreneur, especially an entrepreneur, should be very, very. I see some people after 1 or 2, 3 years of success, they will think that change is not needed, and that's when the company start going down. Right? But the world is changing fast, and every day you have a new competition. Not only your direct competition sometimes comes to you from a different industry altogether. Suddenly your customers are getting their needs fulfilled not by you or your competitors, but someone else, right? And technology is driving so many changes. Even the cutting edge last 10-year jobs, for example, in the IT industry, are no longer going to be there in the next 10 years. So this is a live case study of last 3 months. So I went on a call with all of our entire company employee base, and I said that, look, these are the changes which are likely to happen. Automation is going to take away most of the IT jobs in the next 10 years. Now, do you guys want to be those people who want to make the change happen and grow your career, or do you want to be the guys who would not learn and invest in yourself, as CK said, and then be those drivers of that change? So we called for all our, brilliant database administrators, system administrators. We said you become DevOps engineer and you be the change leader. So same thing applies to entrepreneurs, right? So every day we need to be ready. Every day we need to be ready to learn new things, and it's hard. It's hard life, but you know what? There is also excitement. Every time there is a change, when there's a new child in the family, there's so much of excitement. Comes with so much of burden also, but there's so much of excitement. So every change, I learn a new thing, and then I get a lot more, energized. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sridhar. CK, there's a question from Kiran Gali. He's saying that, you have been a disruptive and successful innovator to have built great consumer brands. What kind of digital innovation is expected in the sales and distribution for customer goods in the companies, in their engagement with retailers? So what do you foresee in that space?
I feel as we go forward, going and knocking the door for orders from the customer would be very, very less. And the retailers themselves may place the order. It's very important. And the companies can increasingly reaching directly to the customers. These are the new kind of distribution models, or what used to be a traditional strength of FMCG companies. The distribution model is slowly waning away. If you look at in the e-commerce business, the top selling brands in all the personal care categories, almost all the personal care categories, not the incumbents who are there on the this thing on the ground available in all the retail outlets, but the guys who have started new this thing FMCG, the e-commerce brand, and they are the lead players in almost all the categories, and that's a very, very important thing. So the app, they traditionally going and knocking the door to get the orders, all these things will come under the scanner. Already we are seeing that getting changed, and a lot of innovations is going to happen. The model is going to, what we used to sit pretty as this is a strength, I think we are now on our course, I can tell you.
Fantastic. So some change. So hope, Kiran, that gives you insights of what you were looking at. I have a question from Tariq Khan, and maybe Sridhar, you can answer that. He's saying that, in both your cases, we heard that you decided early in your life and then you stayed focused and determined. As against that, what we see today is that people are not able to decide. If you look at young entrepreneurs today, quite often they are not able to decide. So is it just about too many choices, or is there something else which is kind of making a difference to things today, to the newer generation entrepreneurs?
I think the took comfort, right? All my classmates, for example, the top guys, all the toppers, they all went on to next level good universities and well-paying jobs. So most of them used to fly around when I used to take a second-class train. Yeah. So that comfort, once if someone gets used to it, it's very difficult to, flip and change and become an entrepreneur, I would say. So, someone who starts out early, but the problem is that, families don't support. We're still in an insecure economy where the roti, kapda, makan, is not guaranteed like in the Western countries for any kid, right? Mm-hmm. So, that insecurity makes parents or the ecosystem around young kids to tell them that, look, starting a business is not the wise thing to do, The best thing is get good marks, get engineer, and then become, go to IIT and then go to a, university, American university, get a job there. That's the best track that they see it. That has to change. I think it will change slowly with the abundance of wealth within India. And starting early makes it, because we are not, entrepreneurism is not taught, right? One has to fall and learn by the day. So starting early, there's no one dependent on you, and that's definitely a big advantage. Yes. 30, you've learned your biggest mistakes.
Good. Thank you, Sridhar. I have another question from Jawahar Avici. CK, maybe you can take that. During COVID, to be able to launch 3 new brands and be prepared to launch 2 more in the next few months, what do you do to crush this whole, and we are all taught in management schools that, you have to go through that cycle of developing a product, and don't short circuit anything. So how do you crush this timeline is a question Jawahar is asking.
I think that's an interesting question. Even our own team members are asking, what used to take 9 to 12 months time, sometimes 18 months time. How is it possible that we crushed it so much? Kind of thing. So I think it is important that we crashed it. We all worked together and said, why should it take time? How can we cut short all the programs? For example, the vendors normally say, I require a 3 months time for making a particular mold. Then we said, okay, this is the kind of thing. We'll work with molders who will give us just in 30 days time. And we went and searched for that, and we could able to identify people who can give quality and delivery, and started giving it in just flat 15 days time. Sometimes it is crashed to 10 days. So like that, many things, what we believed that it will take so much time, we said we will work with vendors who can work very short time and also give us quality. And that's possible. Many times you think short time means it's a quality cut. Need not be. So that I think is we crunch the time of this thing, our own ecosystem, and also internal our own beliefs. Why should it take time? I must also commend our team members. They burnt the midnight oil, literally, I would say. It's not just a kind of thing. people gave their best.
And then it's an amazing story, you know, like I said, it is a story which I'm sure is going to be for eternity taught in management schools, or certainly in the entrepreneurial, hallways, so that, you know, how do you crush that to such a short time?
Last week, Chennai was the last 10 days ago, Chennai was a 12-day lockdown. So our R&D is Chennai. So no people can come. That's the way it is all locked, kind of the thing. But there is if anybody lives within 2 kilometers radius, they can come. So the scientists all said, we are ready to come and stay in R&D itself. Give us this place, give us some kind of a quilt and other things we'll manage. We are ready to work more time because this is the time company needed on their own. I think this is what we are blessed with, such a greatly committed people. Huge difference.
And then with people, Sridhar, you know, one of the questions again Jawahar has, and you may be able to answer that, is that in the industry that you are in, there is such a high attrition rate, you know, and what strategies do you follow? How do you go about? Because, you know, you've grown, and obviously people have played a role in that growth. So what does Sridhar and CtrlS do to manage that?
No, actually, it's people, especially Cloud4C. It's purely people-driven business, right? So, and they get the best of the offers, especially if we're a disruptive player. Everyone wants to copy what we do, and all our guys get tons of offers. But what makes them stick around is that number one, it's not about high pay. Number one, confidence. Can I grow with CtrlS? Can I grow with Sridhar at the top layer? Right? That is abundance. I mean, they've seen us, and they know that the growth which this group can offer will be almost not possible elsewhere. That's number one. Number two is learning. I'm a big pain for them. Yet at the same time, when they look back, that, you know, the young one comes to us, and in about 3 years, he will learn what a normal industry person learns in 12 years. When we did a survey of our employees, the biggest thing that they say is that the learning, the exposure that they get, the global clients or new technologies are always something new happening. And we are always on the cutting edge of services, production services. So most of I started the first cloud, I started first tier 4. I mean, you take any, we were the first to offer a disaster recovery, you know, as a service. We were the first to offer a, bank in a box, like a banking cloud, right? I mean, there are, a long list goes. So their biggest factor why they stay with us is that learning. And of course, pay, because of growth. When you put a company on a good growth trajectory, you will also be able to take care of your people well. So the growth rate we could offer them was also much better than the competition. Plus, the most difficult thing for us, as a biggest learning for us as an organization, was how do we create a fair, equitable, everyone gets equal opportunity, and a joyful culture within the organization. That's the biggest learning, I would say, that we've created, learned, and still learning.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think that should give insights. And with that, I come to my last question for the day, which is to you, CKR. And this is a question from Jawahar Avici again. You seem to be a very big risk taker. Recently, I saw in the newspaper that you have completely closed your 40,000 square feet office and made your employees work from home as the new normal. This is not just a stopgap arrangement till Corona gets over. So my question is, how do you make take these risky decisions? Are those decisions based on some data, intuition, business intelligence? What helps you take these decisions?
I think it's important we sense what is happening. We check with our own people, is it possible? And people say, no, it's not possible to work from home. And therefore we challenge. Why is it not? We engage in a discussion. It's not just blindly say, no, you have to do it. Once you start getting into peel the layer one by one, you eventually find out, and they also agree that it's possible. So when we are ready to engage in such kind of discussions and got into everything, where whoever said it's not possible, this is difficult, that's difficult, we started engaging that kind of a series of discussions and eventually felt that it's working. So when there is no more opposition in terms of, yes, I think convinced, then it's possible. That's what we tried initially. First, within about by 4th or 5th April, we announced within the organization, we are going to permanently work from home. But we observed it for the next 2 more months to say by the time this thing, then we said June, we sensed it's working. Then we said, okay, we'll announce it, then make it permanent. So that's the thing. And some people like, some people don't like. It's always the case. Majority of them like, because I think that's one very, very important thing. And also, if you look at working from home, ladies like it a lot, because that offers a phenomenal flexibility, because ladies are typically doing 2 roles, very important roles, managing the children and the kind of family and other things are much higher in their kind of thing. Given that, I think this will also be a welcome solution for them. But work from home offers quite a lot of flexibility. I think it's so much we can do to this thing. Their traveling time, 1.5 hours a day is saved, which is close to about 46 working days of 8 hours each if you take it, which is not small for a person. They can meaningfully spend it with the family. So same way, the fuel, the kind of environment pollution, the kind of flexibility, you can have lunch at home with your family, and you can take a break and have this thing with the family. All these things, you have a flexi timing to work or any this thing. I think this cannot be compensated. The only thing, the work environment, what you provide at office to this, there's a difference. But I think given all the kind of love and affections around when you work and your own kith and kin, and that is far more outweighed than the kind of a professional environment is. And for us to meet once in a month, we'll meet, learn, and this thing, that is what we said. We will have all the fun, what the office can do. But also we will invent the way on an online, how do we make fun and also learn and also create ideas. These ideas we have created only in these times. So many products we launched, so much time we crushed. And we have also started growing in the last 10 days of July. Still we are doing very well, very impressive growth rate. We have been growing over last year, 10 days of July. And we are very confident and bullish. So we don't see any negativity of working from home so far, is what I can say.
Fantastic, I think. So that gives an answer. And I think, if all of you have been kind of looking at the answers and looking at the journey and the life that both these individuals have had, and there are learnings you've got, we have something in store for you, because 2 of you, out of a whole lot of questions, I think we got over 80 plus questions, and it was a tough task, but there was a contest we had put out saying we will let both these gentlemen pick a question which we call the winning question, and that will entitle the person who's asking the question to get some one-on-one time with CKR and with Sridhar. So it's been a tough job, and both Sridhar and CKR have selected a question each, and we would like to at this point announce those winning questions, and then our office, TiE office, will get in touch with you to let you know how we can schedule that time, and you can continue the learning with these people and get a lot more amazing inputs from them. So Vamsi, if I may request you, if you can put up the questions that we have got Sridhar and CKR to select. So the first question is from Somu Chokalingam in Chennai, which is the question Sridhar has selected, that this divide of haves and have-nots is increasing. Successful people are more and more successful, and on the other side, a set of people are not able to even live their normal life. How do you think this can be bridged? So that's a question that Sridhar has picked, and in the time that you get, Somu, with Sridhar, not only will he answer this question, but he'll also be available for that period of time to take a few more of your questions. And similarly, from Vishakhapatnam, we have, that's a very difficult name to pronounce, Pragjanand, asking a question that, is it service before self or self before service? Which is your choice? Is the question that CKR has taken, and he will kind of answer that question in the time that you have with him. So congratulations, Somu and Pragjanand. And like I said, our office will schedule that time the TiE office will schedule the time with you. And so with that, I'd like to thank both Sridhar and CKR for some amazing conversations that we've had, and I'm sure a lot of us have taken many lessons out of the questions, and we understand and we can now relate to why you are called the icons, and you know, these are the tales of the icons that we got. And with that, I'd like to hand it over back to you, Funny and Akhila.
Yeah, you did a great job. Get the best.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Sridhar.
I would like to thanks Vivek, and also great learning and similarities, quite a lot of similarities, the way Sridhar has built this thing, the way he looks at things. I think I really love it, Sridhar. Keep going, we'll be in touch. A lot of similarities. I like this. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. CKR, Sridhar Reddy, for taking time. And, Vivek, thanks for your contribution, and as always, you know, it was really smooth and seamless. With that, thank you, and Akhila, thanks for everything, all the support and partnership. Let's continue our conversation. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, CKR, Sridhar, and Vivek. That was such an inspiring and lovely session. And we look forward to staying in touch and doing more sessions with TiE Hyderabad. No, like, thanks, Funny, for initiating the whole thing. And it was such a wonderful experience working with you. And thank you. And thanks to
Mr. Arun Nagarajan and
Arun, yes, Arun and
thank you.
Manohar. Thank you, Manohar. Yes, thank you, Manohar, and thanks, Arun, for joining us today.
thank you, sir.
Thanks everybody. Fabulous job.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Good night. Stay safe. Stay home and stay connected. Yeah. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, Funny. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sridhar.